the most beautiful human being I've ever met in my life. I would not be here on this podcast today if that guy had not taken the time to be an actual mentor. Like if he had just helped me progress through my degrees, I wouldn't be. But he didn't. He opened his house up to me and my wife. He took me to lodge when no one was there and unlocked the door so that I could practice and learn things that aren't just offered in a little book that I didn't pick up blindfolded. Just went the extra mile.
Welcome to the symbolic lodge of conversation, where consciousness and curiosity interweave into discussion. This is All Square Podcast. I'm your host, R.L. Franks, and today's guest has been a Mason for over 7 years. He's dapperly dressed in a casual age. I affectionately dub him the godfather of one of our premier fraternal organizations known as the Grotto. This is the story of my brother, Bryan Mullins. Bryan, thank you for being on the podcast.
Pleasure to be here.
Bryan, this is a perfect example of two men who have never met, but now we are here. And even though we don't know each other, we know each other because of our bonds in the fraternity. I want to kick off my first question with you and to say, what made you want to knock on the door to Freemasonry?
Well, originally, I didn't want to knock on that door. I wanted to knock on the door of the Oddfellows. It just turns out that they were hurting a little more than we were at the time, and it was really hard to find a lodge, even within a moderate driving distance. And I had actually talked to some guys that I worked with, and they happened to be Masons, and they were like, how about you reach out to a Mason's lodge? We know there's one in the town that you live in, which was Plainfield, Indiana at the time. So I reached out to them via Facebook, and then my buddy Mark, who was the secretary at the time and later became my mentor, reached out to me, and the rest is history.
So for some non-Masons that may be watching this episode, they might not have ever heard of the Oddfellows. The Oddfellows is a non-Masonic organization, but it's built on the fraternal aspect. Why were you so intrigued to want to learn more and possibly be a part of the Oddfellows?
Because I knew a few Oddfellows down in Tennessee. The Oddfellows are very, they're like the Masons, but they're not like the Masons. They are very community improvement oriented, where the Masons are very self-improvement oriented. And I think the two complement each other greatly. But that was the main goal, was to be active in my local community and help make it a better place.
I like how you said that. It's all about community. It's about bettering yourself. It's about utilizing the principles. It's about the education and bringing more light into a world where sometimes it feels dark. I have a scenario for you. If aliens were going to invade Earth and we needed somebody to discuss what Freemasonry is to them, because this is pending on if they're going to enslave us or work together with us, how would you describe and tell them the meaning of Freemasonry?
I would tell them that it is a good basis for morals and a guiding light from darkness for all of humankind.
I like that.
It's a great cement to bond us.
But why is that?
I believe it's because of the teachings, that they're all geared towards pushing you to be a better you, and all of us being better yous makes a better we.
Never heard it articulated like that, but I love your interpretation of the fraternity. What was it like to be received into the fraternity?
I was received pretty well. I was more worried about my tattoos than anything, but it turned out once I was actually in, I found out that there was actually a tattoo artist who was a member of my lodge, whom I've never met, but he came through a few years before me, and so coming in with tattoos wasn't really that weird of a thing there.
Do you have any tattoos on your body that you just like to reflect on? Are they all a part of your identity? Let's talk about it. Okay, so let's show that to the camera. So on his one knuckle, index knuckle, he has a square and compass. Why did you want to have that carved onto you?
For the same reason that Masons wear rings, as a constant reminder of who we are and what we do and where to keep ourselves within due bounds. I also got it because I had just read a book about how Masons were treated during World War II, and it had a lot to do with how we were thrown in internment camps for helping Jewish people escape. And I thought to myself, what kind of guy am I? Am I the kind of guy that would try to hide being a Mason, or am I the kind of guy who would kind of go down with the ship? And that tattoo ain't going anywhere. A ring can be taken off, but that tattoo's forever.
It's the symbolism. Sometimes it conveys a deeper meaning that what you can read in a whole book, which is a good example of how this fraternity is. People can read about it, people can watch stuff about it, but until you walk through the doors of Freemasonry, you have no idea what you're getting involved in. Now, I saw that on that tattoo, you actually have the compass pointing out. Is there a reason by that, or is it just the way that you thought it should be?
Outside of starting arguments with people who think that a ring should be worn a certain way, I got it that way because I wanted it to remind me that I projected an appearance out into the world, and that appearance needs to be representative of the craft.
Joining the fraternity and knocking on that door, what were some preconceived notions you had going into the fraternity? Were you a little worried?
I wasn't so much worried. I guess I could be a little bit of a control freak sometimes. So the preparation for the first degree kind of got me off kilter at first, but now that I've been through everything, that's what it's supposed to do.
I like that. I got some rapid fire questions here because we need people to know who you are and what you're about. Because I have seen you online before I met you today for the first time. I want people to know where you came from, what you do. So I have a few questions we're calling this section rapid fire. So, Bryan, where are you from?
I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee.
Okay. But right now you're in Indiana.
Correct. I'm in Waveland, Indiana. A little tiny town, no stoplight, no school, 1 block long.
Cool. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long, stressful day?
Usually wrestling with my kids or smoking a cigar and drinking some bourbon.
What are you grateful for in this fraternity?
In the fraternity, I am grateful for Grotto.
I can't wait to dive into that appendant body. You're actually the first person that we've had on the podcast who's really been an ambassador to this branch in Masonry. What I also believe is a much needed branch in the fraternity. They all are. But are you a first generation Mason, or did you have a whole multi-generation lineage?
To the best of my knowledge, I am a first generation. If I was previous, they took the to be one, ask one a little too hard, and was never asked or told even.
Go in a little bit more on that.
I have one of my grandfathers had a coin collection that I inherited when he died, and it actually had a penny in it with the square and compass on it, along with another more secret symbol of ours. And he was gone by the time I received it, so there was no explanation given. But as far as everyone I've asked, they didn't know he was a Mason if he was, and I've not been able to find that info out.
Why do you think Masons don't talk about being Freemasons?
Because for a long time that was frowned upon. I think it comes from keeping secrets abreast, and I think that maybe that's a little old news, especially the current state of things. I think maybe it's okay to ask. I've had several people ask me if I'm a Mason, and when I tell them yes, they tell me their dad or their grandfather was a Mason. And then I ask them if they're a Mason, and they say no. They never asked. And I'm like, well, did you ask? And they say no. So if the child is not asking because they think they need to be asked, and the father or grandfather is not asking because they think they should be asked,
Right.
then we are losing good men for no reason at all.
7 years is a long time in the fraternity. You're a well-traveled Mason. Was there a moment throughout your journey where it was your aha moment? I understand.
It was. Without giving up too much information, it was towards the end of the second half of my Master Mason degree. Very uplifting moment.
Yeah, it is. That degree is. They all have their part to play on your journey. What do you think of the stigma of that it's a fraternal organization or a secret society?
Uh, Fraternal for sure. Secret, uh, also for sure, really. People can say it's a society with secrets, but those are the people that will argue with you because you put a comma in the wrong place. Uh, we have secrets. It's meant to have secrets, or else we wouldn't be told to keep things abreast and on the level.
Thank you for explaining that. To be one, ask one. What do you think of that typical symbol that you see?
What do you mean?
Well, we always see it posted everywhere, but I don't think anybody really does a great job of explaining it. It's just supposed to be out there in the open.
So to be one, ask one simply means that if you want to be a Mason, you have to ask a Mason to be one, which goes back to our belief that you're coming to us of your own free will and accord. So us asking someone would be like us bringing them in of our free will, not their free will.
Yeah. You hear, and it's been discussed over the last few episodes that, and online, that people either watch us or watch other podcasts, and they write something on a blog online that this is a cult. Was that ever something that you considered before joining and asking the questions that I want to be a Freemason?
No, but only because of my search for the Oddfellows and my knowing Oddfellows beforehand. And when I was first asking about it, I was a union ironworker at the time, and some ironworkers I knew were Masons, and they're the ones that uh, corralled me towards Freemasonry when I couldn't get into the Oddfellows. And they did so by basically explaining it's like the Oddfellows with a few differences. Um, and I had already done research on the Oddfellows and known Oddfellows, so I knew that wasn't a cult. So in turn, I knew Freemasonry probably wasn't a cult.
Being now on the inside and having people on the outside looking in and dictating the narrative of Freemasonry, what would you say that the messages that needs to get out about Freemasonry to the people who are uninstructed? The deep question, I know.
So to me, if I had to give a message out, it would just be that if you're a dude in today's time and you're unsure of where you are or where you're headed, Freemasonry is a great way to figure that out. It won't tell you, but it will give you the tools you need to successfully find the end of your journey.
Yeah. Do you think you found Freemasonry, or do you think Freemasonry found you?
It found me for sure because I was all in for the Oddfellows, and I worked with these guys that I didn't know were Masons for, I think we were probably on that job we were on for over a year at the time, where they told me they were Masons and I never noticed.
Let's talk about switching segments here. Let's talk about your lodge or lodges that you belong to. Where's your primary lodge membership at?
My primary lodge membership is Plainfield 653 in Plainfield, Indiana, which is a medium-sized city.
Let's talk about lodge dynamic. What's that like?
There, it's pretty good. It's pretty diverse.
How so?
We have lawyers, judges, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Taoists, firefighters, you name it. Airplane pilots.
So you have all these men from all different walks of life. Was there a time being a Freemason and now you're on the level with all these men where you actually saw the outside world maybe try to cast a blemish on Freemasonry, whether they were attacking you or just maybe what the fraternity is in society? Have you ever had to witness that?
I have. Uh, I see a lot of it on social media, which is just toxic poison for the most part. It's just rhetoric. Anywhere there's something good, there's going to be bad rhetoric against it. But in a physical manifestation, right there at the beginning of COVID, we did have someone, we don't know who, they never got caught, spray paint some swastikas on the side of our lodge building, which kind of sucked, especially since we have several Jewish members, including, well, he's since moved to Alabama, but our secretary at the time was Jewish.
Why do you think that invokes somebody to, desecrate the lodge building with swastikas?
Uh, I kind of shucked it off to ignorance and the angstfulness to be
How do you think we can fix that?
uh, by being out in our community more like we used to be, becoming pillars once again, doing cornerstones for local businesses, marching in parades, helping families, local families, instead of big organizations.
Have you seen that on a local level?
I have two of the lodges I'm a member of. Plainfield, they help a local women's shelter for battered women. They also do a parade and a few other things local. They do pictures with Santa Claus and give out candy for trick or treaters, like a trunk or treat thing. And then Alamo, they do pancake breakfasts, but they don't just do your normal come to the lodge pancake breakfast. They do it out in the community to bring people in from the community and let them know that we're here if you need help.
Not every branch in the fraternity is the same. They all have their own style and themes that correlate to. Who are the mystic veiled prophets of the Enchanted Realm?
MOVPER or the Grotto.
The Grotto. IW, the godfather of the Grotto. The way this man has a social media presence, he's out here being an example. But for people who are unaware, you even brought examples of the fez that you guys wear.
Correct.
So who are the mystic veiled prophets of the Enchanted Realm?
So the simplest I could put this would be that they are a angsty group of Masons, or at least that's how they started, with a very charitable heart. They're all about having a good time, uh, having fun with each other, but at the same time, there is a serious side when it comes to charitable cause and helping a brother out when a brother needs help.
This branch, do you know the history of how it came about?
I know some of the history of how it came about. Leroy Fairchild was a Mason. Him and a few other of his brother Masons, who, from what I've heard, were also York Rite Masons. They maybe had gotten in some trouble with doing some practical jokes in their lodges and stuff like that, and they all kind of congregated together and formed a little group called the Fairchild Deviltry Committee. And
What was it called?
Fairchild Deviltry Committee.
Fairchild Deviltry Committee. Explain a little more if you can.
That's the best I can explain.
Okay.
Like they just were a group of Masons who liked having fun and wanted to have fun without getting in trouble in lodge, so they consolidated into their own little group.
So the Grotto is a fraternal branch of the fraternity. It's about good fellowship. But when you say the fun, what kind of fun are we talking about here? Can you give some examples?
Yeah. So, as far as fun goes, just our meetings in general are fun. Like even our stated meetings are fun. We cut up, have a joke. Nothing is taken seriously. Um, it's pretty much the opposite of Blue Lodge, where everything is serious. If you were to put the two on the scales of justice, they would even each other out perfectly.
Ah,
Um, but that is set aside. We do things like going to baseball games, going to dinners, going bowling, uh, just anything we can do to have fun outside of the lodge, but still within the circle of Masons that we love.
other than fun, how else would you describe to a non-Mason watching in 3 words the Grotto?
Sympathy, good fellowship.
Yeah, sympathy, good fellowship. With the Grotto, we were talking off air a little. You even said that not only did they just have fun meetings, but they also did fun events. You even said there used to be like baseball teams.
Yeah, there was I want to say it might have been here in Ohio, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure about that. But there was a Grotto versus Shrine kind of sibling rivalry baseball tournament, which seemed like a lot of fun
Absolutely. The black fezzes and the
versus the
red.
Red Pheasant.
Yeah.
There is some stuff that still goes on down in Texas along those lines.
Oh, that's cool that they're keeping that going. Hopefully, we'll see a revival in that in the future. What made you want to become a grotto? Like, how did you first get introduced to this concept?
So I was feeling a little bit of Masonic burnout, which I think a lot of Masons get when you get in and you're doing a lot and you kind of get to like a maybe a stalemate where you're doing all you can do and you can't really do much more, or at least you think you can't.
Where does that stem from? Because some people might not understand what Masonic burnout is.
So it can come from different ways. I guess in my experience, burning the candle at both ends, you're trying to do all you can for your lodge, but also visit and help other lodges in your area that aren't doing so well. And eventually you just feel like you're out of Masonic energy, if you will.
Yep.
Your stamina has run dry.
It. You've been a grotto member for how long now?
I believe 3 years.
3 years. You've met brethren from all walks of life with this. Can you describe the kind of men that you see the grotto um, resonating to that are coming in through that door?
Yeah. Say at the risk of upsetting some people, I have noticed personally that Grotto seems to be the catch-all for um, the odd man out, if you will, the misfits, freaks, and punk rockers of the world, the Masonic world.
Okay.
Um, they're the outcasts, if you will, or at least in my experience. We all find a home in the grotto.
And how beautiful is that to be able to build those bonds of fellowship in the fraternity? Um, Talk about the fez. What does this mean to you when you wear this, whether it's out in public, at different events, both your sessions when your group's meeting up, but also what does this fez represent?
So, first of all, we got two here. We have the General Prophet Fez, which is the black fez with the red tassel. And then we have the Monarch and Past Monarch Fez, which is the black fez with the purple tassel. To me, it's just a symbol of pride in what we do, a way for us to distinguish ourselves from other Masonic groups and to show people that care about what we're doing.
There's a lot of bedazzlement in these fez. It really catches your eye. What do you think about that and the fashion? statement it's trying to be. It's like a beacon almost.
Yeah, I think it should. I think it should be a champion of who you are. You should your fez should reflect who you are as a Mason and a person. Uh, I think that drawing attention to it's great because drawing attention to the grotto draws attention to the grotto's humanitarian foundation.
Can you talk a little bit about that foundation and what that foundation's trying to strive for?
Absolutely. The grotto's humanitarian foundation uh, helps children with disabilities get dental work done because something that might cost you $300 at the dentist costs them $3,000. When you go in and you sit in that dentist chair, a child with cerebral palsy can't go in and sit in that dentist chair. They have to have a big open area that they can drive their wheelchair into. All those tables surrounding you when you get your dental work done, all those have to be suspended from the ceiling.
Oh,
All
wow.
of that is extra. A normal dentist doesn't work on a kid with cerebral palsy. Take something special to work on a special child. That's what this group helps with.
I appreciate you explaining that. You see, all these fraternal organizations all have some sort of a charity, which we're just trying to give back, trying to improve the community that
We
you
live in.
were drawn to, right? So there is a symbol in Grotto called the Enchanted Lantern. I would love for you to be able to explain what the Enchanted Lantern is and why we use that lantern as a symbol of light.
So originally the Enchanted Lantern was an old railway lantern, and they hung it in the window of the building they were meeting in to let people know that there was a grotto meeting. So it was kind of like the square and compass lights of old, where you would put a candle in there, and it would let people know that it's meeting night, but for grotto. Since then, the Enchanted Lantern is a symbol of thanks almost for giving to our humanitarian foundation. So when you make a donation of $50 or more, you get an Enchanted Lantern, and that can come in a various group of ways, from a pin to a tab for your pen for how many times you've given to cufflinks to whatever. So
There's always some kind of stereotypes related to different organizations, Freemasonry or the Grotto. What's a stereotype that needs to be busted? A myth that needs to be busted about the Grotto?
so there's two that come to mind. The first one being that we are the poor man's shrine. We are not the poor man's shrine.
The poor man's shrine?
Yeah, we're not.
What is like where do you
That
think that comes from?
that
And
comes
what does that mean when somebody says, "Oh, it's the poor man's shrine"?
that comes from us being a like-minded group of Masons, assisting disabled children and wearing fezzes, and we're cheaper on the whole.
But there's some places in the country where the Grotto is more active both in the community and in the fraternity than some shrines,
And even more expensive.
and even more expensive.
That's why it's a myth that needs broken.
Yeah. How do you think we can do that?
Just by being more present and out in our community, by participating more with the shrine and fun sibling rivalry like we used to, uh, letting people know that while we may all be Masons, we have different goals and we're different groups.
Has there ever been a time, did you ever imagine throughout your journey in life that you would be in an organization like that when you were young, running around, figuring out what I want to do in life, figuring out, where I'm going to put my aspirations, maybe even feeling a little bit of alone in a time?
No,
No?
no, I didn't picture myself as a Freemason, let alone uh, in the grotto. Uh, when I was young, I grew up for the most part fatherless. I had some grandpas and a mom that pulled double duty and tried their best to keep me out of trouble, out of harm's way. But honestly, in retrospect, I don't know that I saw myself past 30 years old.
What?
Yeah.
30 years old.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little about that if you want?
I'm just running the streets, getting in trouble. Totally opposite of the guy that I am now. And if it wasn't for becoming a husband and a father and a Freemason, I'd probably still be on that path.
Let's talk about that. I like to call this building character. Masonry has a lot of lessons, a lot of teachings. But in your life, can Masonry, especially in today's society, really help with building character? And if so, how?
100%. How is a little tricky because the ways in which it does so are revealed to us during our Masonic degrees. But the easiest way for me to get that message across would be that each degree gives you a tool and a set of guidelines on how to conduct yourself as a good member of society, as a good person, father, husband, brother, uh, and those tools, if used correctly, will continue forever indefinitely on building you into a better person.
Have you always been a snazzy dresser?
No.
Okay, so this is something you found throughout your journey.
I came up in the punk rock community, cut off uh, military fatigues and a leather jacket with spikes on it and a t-shirt with no neck and no sleeve. And now I'm in a three-piece suit with some brogues on, looking fancy.
Is this what Masonry is telling you to be? Or is this just what you've developed in yourself on your own personal journey?
Developed on my own personal journey. Have I seen it in Freemasonry? Absolutely. Is that where it piqued my interest? Probably, because I'm big in the history of things. And if you look up any old pictures, Masonry was always taken very serious, especially when it came to degree work, and guys were in suits and tuxedos.
So you being an example, you feel good when you dress well, kind of thing is the message that you're trying to correlate out here.
Oh yeah,
But
100%.
you're your own. I love big energy characters, right?
Yeah.
And every time I see you on the big international Grotto Facebook page, you're really being a beacon for what this fraternity and this, especially this branch of the fraternity is about.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
The product is out there. The representation of the product was lacking.
Yeah. Were you a father and a husband before you joined the fraternity?
Yes.
What was it like, bringing this to your family?
At first, it was a little weird because when you're new to Masonry, you are told to conceal and never reveal things, and you don't want to break that obligation because you're making that obligation not just to the guys there at your lodge, but to Masons all around the world. And when you're new, you don't know that much. You're an apprentice. You're learning, and you don't know what you can and can't tell your wife, really.
Right. So
Or
how
your
did you
kids.
navigate that conversation?
Uh,
Because nothing's worse, right? I hear it time and time again that a man just became a Mason. And though Masonry will show you so much through the degree, sometimes we don't take a few moments to sit with that newly obligated brother and say, hey, you can talk about being a Freemason. You can talk about this with your wife. There's only a few things you can't, which is the modes of recognition and some other secrets in the fraternity.
right.
But you can really talk about that journey and how impactful that is. So how did you navigate the discussions with your wife? Because so many times I hear men go or their wives go, yeah, when John first joined the fraternity, I asked him how it was. He says, I can't talk about it. Not really a smart way of starting your relationship in a fraternity when you can't talk to it about your wife, with your wife.
I was lucky. In Indiana, they have a little guidebook that they give you to go over with the candidate and his wife and or kids if they're old enough to understand, which kind of gives you a good layout. And also, the first lodge I joined, Plainfield, there at the time they were really big on rebuilding And in rebuilding, they were bringing the wives in for involvement.
What's your wife's experience in this fraternity?
Limited when it came to Blue Lodge, but 100% when it comes to Grotto. There are very few things in Grotto that your wife and kids can't be involved in, and everything that she can, she is all in. She
You,
loves Grotto.
you guys look like $1,000,000 when I see you at some gala. You're dressing sharp. You're wearing a bedazzled jacket, I believe, at times.
Yeah, it's mostly her.
I was going to say that.
Outfits.
I wanted you to feel good about yourself.
She picks the outfits, and she's the arm candy for sure. But yeah, like you look good, you feel good.
Yeah.
And in Grotto, it's all about feeling good, looking good, being the best you, building your brothers up, hanging out, having fun.
Are there examples that you've either learned or just really impacted you to leave on to your sons in this fraternity?
Yes. I greatly look forward to the day when I can help lift my sons up.
Yeah.
Big time. And until then, they are very active in Grotto. They're little Grotto bats. They run around. I actually posted a picture in mid to late December of them running around with little pitchforks asking guys for their dues.
Pitchforks.
Yeah, which is an allusion to the ceremonial for Grotto.
Okay. I can't wait to hear the comments on that coming up about pitchforks.
It'll be great. It's a lot of people think that Grotto is just a social group, which it's not. We have a ceremonial, which is just like a really long degree. It's 7 acts. Very
Beautiful.
long. Tells a very beautiful story. Solid poetry. Without giving away too much, a good versus evil story, and evil always loses.
Evil always loses. What was without giving anything away, what was your first experience actually witnessing that 7-act? Theatrical?
Yeah, full. I witnessed the full 7-act theatrical in Detroit, Michigan. My buddy Nadal, fantastic human being, beautiful person. Him and Shadukayam, hope I said that right, Grotto in Michigan did that at the Detroit Masonic Temple, which happens to be the largest in the world. Beautiful. It looks like a Grand Lodge connected to a shrine, connected to a castle. It's insane. It's just insane. I can't put into words to describe it. Beauty. And the work they did on the ceremonial is beauty.
It is a beautiful edifice up there in Detroit. I witnessed it here in my neck of the woods in Maumee, Ohio, where we were doing that during a Grotto revival. Do you feel like the fraternity is shrinking right now, or do you feel like it's actually getting into a revival process as a whole for men?
Revival, 100%. 100%. I think if anyone has the chance to read the book Bowling Alone, it is fantastic, and it is a great precursor for the time that we are in right now, which is the buildup, which we've gone through. If anyone was to stretch out the membership of our fraternity over, a 200-year timeline, everything is ebbs and flows. We go up, we go down, we go up, we go down. It doesn't matter what's going on. Great Depression, everything, it's up and down. And it's beautiful and sad at the same time. But if you can burden yourself to take a step back, even if your lodge is doing terrible, if you can burden yourself to take a step back and look at that timeline, you'll know that we're doing good. Even if your lodge is in the worst shape, it's got to close. You got to merge with another one. You're not the first lodge. You won't be the last lodge. But the active guys from your lodge, the active guys from the lodge that you're merging with can make a beautiful thing.
Yeah, sometimes merging lodges together will even bring out more great ideas and dynamics.
It should.
Yeah.
It should. And if it doesn't, then people are looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah, because sometimes in the Blue Lodge, your, I don't know, head start to butt. You got egos because each lodge is different.
Yeah.
From my journey, every lodge provides something different for their members. And
Grotto's the same way.
yeah, I can imagine that. So being able to put those differences aside and be on the level for the greater good of the fraternity is so necessary. One I I think we're gonna see lodges continue to merge, but I only think it's gonna produce great fruit. I hearken it to sometimes you have to prune the hedges to let the new buds grow with the fraternity. This question I was reflecting on this week. What is the most unexpected situation where you came in contact with a fellow Mason? Was there a place you were at and you didn't expect that you were going to meet somebody in the fraternity that
Yeah. Weird story.
I would love it?
So I have 3 children.
Okay.
A 13-year-old daughter, a 6-year-old son, and a 3-year-old son. And my daughter is with a different woman than I'm currently married to.
Okay.
And when going to court with said mom, the judge was actually a Mason. And when he saw where I was from, he asked me some questions about Indiana that made it obvious that he was a Mason. And that was the weirdest encounter I've ever had with a Mason whom I didn't expect to be a Mason. Worked out in my favor, though.
Well, that's good that it worked out in your favor. Um, what was it like? Like having that moment of, oh,
Scary and surreal.
because
Because of the current state of things that I was in, the
sure.
place that I was in. I was kind of used to the dad not being the good guy, no matter how good of a guy you are.
And the divorce proceedings.
Yeah, like up until that point, I don't want to say I'm a good guy, but I've always tried not to be a bad guy. And up until that point, I just kind of every time I went to court felt like a bad guy, even though I wasn't doing anything wrong, just because that's how it's kind of portrayed. But after that point, I realized, based on things he said as a brother in the courtroom, that I wasn't a bad guy and I was doing everything in my ability to be a good father for my daughter.
I really appreciate you taking time to share that story. A thing I would like to go back to real quick is symbolisms, especially in the Blue Lodge. We are taught of these working tools and what Masons, but back in the past and sometimes in society, still use their working tools out in the real world, whether they're a bricklayer and whatnot. But we're taught, since we're not bricklayers and people in that industry, be able to utilize these tools on ourselves symbolically, speculatively. Is there one symbol that really stands out that really just resonates and makes you ponder on?
So backtrack a little.
Okay.
I actually work as a millwright welder right now in the UAW. Before that, I was a union iron worker, and to this day, the plumb, level, and square are everyday parts of my life.
The plumb, the level, and the square.
Every day, and whether that is physically done at work or me working on myself, me figuring out how to make time with my kids for the week, make time with my wife for the week, make time for learning for the week, make time for myself for becoming a better human being for the week, or make time for Lodge or Grotto for the week. I use all 3 of those uh, indiscriminately.
Another tool that is utilized is the 24-inch gauge. Very impactful. 24 inches. 24 hours in a day. I correlate that to.
Correct.
What is that to you?
A funny story. So to begin with, back in school, when I was learning about the founding fathers of this country, the one that always stuck out to me was Benjamin Franklin. And one of the wisest things that he took from Freemasonry and imparted in the world was the 24-inch gauge. Now, as a father, husband, and Mason and prophet in the Grotto, I do my best to make the best use of that 24-inch gauge as possible. And if I can do anything with the episode of this show, it would be to communicate that message to anyone getting into Freemasonry with Grotto or the Shrine or the York Rite or the Scottish Rite, that it is all doable. You just have to figure out what is important in your life at the time on that 24-inch gate. You might have to miss out on binge watching Stranger Things and spend that time watching WWE with your kids and power bombing them into the couch.
Power bombing them into the couch.
Right. Or you might have to miss out on, going and hanging out with your friends from high school so that you can take your wife out to dinner. Or you might have to miss out on a night on being a couch potato because you're going to help a lodge that you're not even a member of perform a degree for a guy who this is his first experience ever in the craft.
Can you even share some more examples or teachings that other men who maybe are burning the candle at both ends and is on the precipice of Masonic burnout, to how they could, incorporate that? You have 7 years of experience. I consider that a veteran.
100%. So I involve my wife and children as much as humanly possible. So people hear that and they think, oh, he takes his wife and kids to Grotto. 100%. Everything Grotto related that my kids and wife can attend, they do attend. So, I mean, if we're doing a pub crawl, my wife's going, but my kids aren't. But if we're having a stated meeting, my kids are running around, people are high-fiving them, giving them hugs. That's one great thing about Grotto is I never have to worry about anything. They have all these aunts and uncles constantly watching out for them, making sure they're not getting hurt or getting into trouble. But that being said, to me, the 24-inch gauge looks like my journey here to do this podcast, 4 hours from home. And my wife and kids came along with me, and they stayed in the hotel with me last night because last night was me and my wife's Valentine's night. And we hung out with the kids and we watched a family movie, some gushy, lovey stuff that my wife likes. And we ate Cinnabon cinnamon rolls because my wife loves them in a hotel room. It's making the most out of your time and figuring out how to do that.
Mentorships. Has there been a mentor in the fraternity that really has helped you along that and to develop that into your life?
I have had 3 great mentors as a Mason. My first great mentor was my actual mentor in the Blue Lodge, Mark Ambry. He lives in Alabama now. The most beautiful human being I've ever met in my life. I would not be here on this podcast today if that guy had not taken the time to be an actual mentor. Like if he had just helped me progress through my degrees, I wouldn't be here. But he didn't. He opened his house up to me and my wife. He took me to lodge when no one was there and unlocked the door so that I could practice and learn things that aren't just offered in a little book that I didn't pick up blindfolded. Just went the extra mile. Secondly is the guy that got me into Grotto, which is Steve Myers, who is, again, one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met in my life. He's the reason that Maru Grotto didn't close.
Didn't close, you said?
Didn't close, yeah. They were on their way out. They weren't doing well. And now we're booming. Now other grottos are looking at us for things to do and how to act. And it's a beautiful thing. And this guy, he doesn't ever ask for any recognition. He'll probably get upset because I'm bringing him up on this podcast. But he's a beautiful human being, and the craft is so much better for him being in it.
I can relate to that because our own...
One more guy.
Sure.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all.
Dave Hostler, who has been my beacon and guiding light through this whole thing. Anytime I am unsure of myself or feel like I might be headed the wrong direction, one text message or phone call to this dude, I'm back on track.
That I would correlate that to charity. That in the Greek word agape, love for the sake of loving, right? It's that support we need. Yes, we're men. We're taught to carry it all on our shoulders at times. But you have a community of men from all different backgrounds across the country, that you have a community that supports you, is making sure that when your kids are around, that they're also keeping an eye as if it was their family, because it is their family.
That's being a Freemason, bud. It's not our differences that separate us, it's our differences that bring us together.
It's right here. It really does. Man, I can relate back to the second person you said, because there was a time when our grotto was going to close and we had to rally and bring some excitement and change that narrative of a poor man's shrine club and turn it into the grotto, a place where Masons dwell, the playground.
That's right.
It's times with the boys and it's times with the families.
That is the at refreshment.
Yes.
When the junior warden, if you will, lets you go have fun, that's the grotto. That's you having that fun, but still amongst your brothers, not worried about if you drink too much, are you going to be okay? Or are you going to get in a bad way? Or is someone going to take advantage of you because you are still with those same brothers that you were with when you were in lodge?
Yeah.
Maybe some new ones.
Absolutely. In the fraternity, Blue Lodge, men come from all different religious backgrounds. They all it's a place where all us men as brothers can dwell and pray together as a brotherhood of man under a fatherhood of God. I'm Orthodox. You're Taoist.
I am.
You've been like that. When did you find that?
Well, in your book, I believe it says how good and pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
Mm-hmm.
And my book, it is how one man coming together with the group is for the best of the group. As one group with an outsider, it's nothing to the group. So your set of skills or beliefs or ideology or way of doing things even is not a hindrance just because the others don't do it that way. It's the second way of seeing things how they need to be done in case their way doesn't work.
For those of people that don't know what a Taoist is, can you give a little bit of explanation to that?
That's hard to explain. The Tao is intangible. It's I guess the easiest way to explain it,
Where does it come from?
it comes from China. It's
Okay.
one of the oldest religions, I believe second to Confucianism. It's a lot of times it's contributed up there with Stoicism. Uh, Lao Tzu, the guy that wrote it, is known as a Stoic philosopher. Uh, it's great, man. It works with any religion, honestly. It's hard to describe.
Hey,
Like if you read the Tao Te Ching, you just get it. It's like Freemasonry. You just get it. When it happens, it clicks and you just get it.
check out Taoism. But you also talked about Stoicism. That is something that has really been trending a lot online. What does it mean to be a Stoic and where does that come from?
So, Stoicism comes from Greek philosophy. It has been around for a long time. It is nothing new. I do think it's gaining steam here recently because it is a antithesis to the over emotional way things have been going. And in Stoicism, you were setting your emotions aside for rationalism.
Rationalism. So kind of taking emotion out of things at times and not reacting emotionally.
Correct.
A logical approach.
Very much the Spock, if you will.
The Spock. How long ago did you find it, and how long have you been incorporating that? And did you find examples of that in the fraternity? That's threefold.
I did. I'm earnest in my belief that the pillars discussed in Freemasonry and their allusion to Greece have way deeper meanings than a lot of us give them credit for. And I think those deeper meanings lead into Stoicism. And on open air, that's as far as I'll take.
I appreciate that. What are you looking forward to in the fraternity as you continue to take this journey?
The things I look forward to the most are being like my good friends, Mark, Steve, and Dave. If I can be half the men that they are, I'll be a good dude. And lifting my sons up when the time comes.
Leadership. You are the monarch of your grotto, and your grotto's name is
Maru
Maru
in Lafayette, Indiana.
Going through those chairs, becoming the head. What does it mean to be a leader of that organization?
Being the head of Grotto is a little different than being the head of, say, your Masonic Lodge. I'd say it's up there with being the head of, the Shrine or the York Rite or Scottish Rite, maybe even a little trickier because we are open to Prince Hall. So you're dealing with more than just the maintenance of your building and the things within your state. You are dealing with things on a national level and a interfraternity level, I guess, if you will.
How long ago was it before you were installed? Are you just in, or are you almost out of your?
As Monarch, I was installed in January, at the end of December.
And
January, yeah.
What are you looking forward to your year to accomplish?
It is our 100 year, so we're gonna have a 100-year celebration, hopefully a rededication. Outside of that, just continuing on what my buddy Steve built, which he brought the guys in. My goal is to just give them something to look forward to and keep them here.
We're coming up to the end of this episode. It flew by. I really appreciate you taking 4 hours, coming in yesterday in Toledo on Valentine's Day. As they call it, Toledo's the place for lovers.
In a snowstorm.
In a snowstorm. Yeah, we got the fire burning behind us. We're warm and toasty here. Listen, there are going to be men, not just in our area, across the country, around the world, be looking for this fraternity. Put yourself back to before you joined this fraternity, where you were trying to stay out of trouble. What is a letter you would write that you would want other men to understand if they're contemplating Freemasonry?
So, be pretty simple. I've met hundreds, maybe even thousands of Masons, and I've yet to meet one that says, I wish I had waited a little longer before I found it. Every one of them says, I wish I had found it sooner.
That is my brother, Bryan Mullins. I'm R.L. Franks, and you are all square. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you.
Hey, R.L. Franks here. Thanks again for watching today's episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you believe someone can benefit from the message that we provided on today's podcast, send it over to them. You may inspire them.